All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, What's Being Built in the Metaverse. I'm your host, Lou Kerner with Blockchain Co-Investors, and we're a crypto fund-to-fund invested in 30 of the leading crypto VCs around the world. And we also recently IPO'd a crypto SPAC. For me, I saw the crypto light on June 29th, 2017, and what I saw was that we had, for the first time in history, a tool set to solve for the community instead of the man in the middle. And I thought that was going to be the biggest thing to happen in the history of humanity. And for 4 years, everything I saw told me that I was right. And then about 6 months ago, I saw something even bigger than crypto. What I saw was the metaverse. And, but what is the metaverse, right? Metaverse is one of these words that means different things to different people. And, who's building in the metaverse today? What's actually going on in the metaverse? And who are the winners gonna be? Has Facebook already won? To answer those questions and others, we've got three amazing metaverse thought leaders who are gonna share their views on where we are and where we're going, including Drew Austin with Redbeard Ventures, Knights of Degen, and Meta Collective, among others. Welcome, Drew.
Thanks, Lou.
Where are you dialing in from?
I'm in Brooklyn today. I had a nice little office space downstairs in my apartment, but now we got flooded in Park Slope a couple weeks back. Now there's construction. So now I'm hiding out in the kitchen, just hoping that babies and kids don't run by.
Quite a look. Drew's going to be joined by Winston Robeson with WeMeta. Hey, Winston.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. And where are you dialing in from?
I'm in San Clemente today, Southern California.
Okay, terrific. And we're going to be joined hopefully by Mark Studholme, who's with Metamundo, who hasn't yet checked in, but I'm sure he will before it's his turn to speak. And so for the first half of the webinar, we're going to have each of our guest speakers speak for like 5 to 7 minutes, just sharing their views on the metaverse and what's going on and what they're seeing from their particular viewpoint. And we're going to spend the second half, as we always do, and that's taking questions from the audience. So if you've got a question, put it into the chat function. And if we choose your question, we'll chat with you, let you know. And then when it's your turn, we'll bring you up on stage and you'll be another one of the guests. You can ask the question directly and ask follow-up questions and such. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Drew. Drew?
Hey everybody, so I'm Drew Austin. I'm a venture capitalist working, running a fund called Redbeard Ventures. I've been running a syndicate for the past year and a half called, Redbeard Ventures Syndicate. And that's on AngelList. You're all welcome to join and follow some of our deal flow. We invest in, 80% of our deals are Web3, blockchain, crypto deals. The rest of them are just frontier technology deals. I'm actually starting a fund now, so that, the same name. So we're also launching a $60 to $70 million Web3 focused fund. Also Redbeard Ventures, that'll be our fund one beyond the syndicate. Been an active investor in NFTs for quite some time. I'm an investor in 5 different metaverses. So I'm an investor in Sandbox, Wilder World, Upland, Super World, and Green Park Sports. So I could talk a little bit about those investments and what I'm excited about seeing. I'm also the co-founder of an NFT project called Knights of Degen, which is a really cool community of sports enthusiasts, NFT collectors, speculators, crypto investors. We wanted a community of people about that we could bring together and talk about the things we were talking about all day with our friends. And it's just really taken off. The project is is really been a fantastic way for me to especially learn from the ground up about NFTs and its role in the metaverse. Our Knights of Degen now own a professional sports team, which is going to be in the league of fan-controlled football, which if anyone saw today, was announced in Forbes. They just raised a Series A of $40 million. They're building the first decentralized professional sports league, which is really exciting. Knights of Degen also owns land in multiple different metaverses, and we'll be building out quite a few different types of experiences in those metaverses. So that's really exciting. And I'm also part of Meta Collective with Lou. And that is a group that we started maybe about 6-7 months ago or so, maybe sometime early last year. And we bought up a bunch of property right near Bored Ape Yacht Club, an estate and a bunch of connected properties with the vision of building like a Web3 university in the metaverse now. And we want to rebrand university as collectives, as collective learning experiences. So that's another project that we're all getting really excited about. And I'm involved in a lot of different DAOs. I think DAOs are going to be a major component of this next wave of Web3 and the metaverse and how we build out the metaverse. I'm just really excited about it. I guess like the big thing that I'm most excited about in this space is the ability to have decentralized contribution. So I've seen it firsthand, even with Knights of Degen, is we have people from the community that are taking our business and our brand and our vision and expanding on it in many ways. And to me, that's the foundational component of what this whole DAO infrastructure and metaverse is about, is that we're creating new opportunities for people to work and contribute and then earn and be incentivized to do so. So excited to talk more about all that today.
So thanks a lot for that, Drew. So you've been now operating. Knights of Degen has been active now for a number of months. What have kind of been the major lessons you've learned of building that out?
Oh God, so many. One is that the community is everything. And that's like the community is a product in and of itself, and it needs to be supported. It needs to be iterated on. It needs to be expanded upon. It needs to be listened to and gathered feedback from, just like any other product where you see data instead of data, you're getting, real feedback from people, and it needs to be nurtured. And I think what I've also realized is that people want to participate. They want to contribute, and they also want to earn. They want to be rewarded for participating in the ecosystems and brands that they are contributing to. So I think a big part of our job at Knights of Degen is to create a platform for people to be able to lean into their strengths, lean into their skills, contribute to a community or brand by pushing it forward and expanding on its brand and reach, and then being rewarded for that. And whether it be financially or by experiences or by community or what like. So, that is really one of the biggest things that I've taken away. And it's a real beast of a project. I'll tell you, everyone focuses on the drop, but right when the drop ends, you now have a whole bunch of vocal shareholders, and you got to really cater to that community really well. So there's a lot to it, but it's been an amazing learning experience, and also a great way to partner with the ecosystem, because there's a lot of opportunities to partner, and there's a lot of collaboration going on.
Super interesting, and I should have started with this, and I'll start with Winston and Mark with this as well. But I started that what is the metaverse, right? Metaverse is this word that we're all using now many times a day, and I think it means something different to most of us. So what does the metaverse mean to you?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. So what does the metaverse mean to me? Oh, I think it's the next great frontier for social networking and the future of work. I think it's going to be the foundation for gaming, social networking, and work. So this is really a massive movement. I think the way that I think that the pandemic actually accelerated a lot of this substantially. We are now able to work remotely. We're able to work on many projects because we're not sitting in a condensed office being looked at by other people. And I think people are going to be able to lean in to contribute to various projects through the DAO structure, be able to earn across various projects. And I think that the social component, I mean, I'll tell you, it was shocking to me, but I've made more friends in the past year and a half than I've made since college. Truly, like I can't tell you, and that's really because of what's happening with like this. So I look at Twitter as the beginning of the metaverse. This really is, and imagine being able to make that even more interactive. Like when the Oculus becomes when VR becomes more pervasive, and I'm able to go to a Knick game sitting front row with my buddies all over the country because we all throw our helmet on from our couch. Like that is going to be that much more transformative and build such deeper bonds than we've even experienced today. And most people I know have been like me, made more friends in the past year and a half than they've made when they were out and about in the world. So I think that, again, there's the social component, there's the work component, which we're all seeing as there's a lot of opportunities now to monetize. And then the gaming component, we haven't even scratched the surface of. And any games we've seen so far, to me, are just the tip of the iceberg.
No, it's a great viewpoint. You think about going to a Knicks game and having the whole stadium filled with other Knights of Degen, right? How cool would that be?
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Okay, thanks a lot for sticking around, Drew. And next we'll hear from Winston Robeson from WeMeta.
Yeah, hey, I'm Winston from WeMeta. I'm a co-founder, and basically, we provide the best data for the metaverse. So anything for land sales, any bids, offers, sales history, foot traffic, how many people showed up to your property, how long they stayed. We're building out tools to help people evaluate and understand what they can do with their land. And so recently, I guess I zoned out, or I lost connection, I should say, during Drew's part. So I'm not 100% sure what I'm supposed to cover, but I know I'm supposed to talk about what the metaverse is and what I think it's going to happen.
Let's start with that. You know, when you hear the word metaverse, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, when I'm 100% on the same page with Drew here. I think in that, I see Twitter as the beginning of the metaverse. I see Facebook, obviously Facebook sees Facebook as the metaverse as well. But we have a whole bunch of games that are coming as well. They're not here yet, but they're starting to be developed. I think the way it's going to happen is you're going to see a whole bunch of institutional size investors come in. They have these platforms like Decentralized, Somnium, Crypto Voxels, whatever have you, Sandbox. And they need to start deploying capital so that they can actually build out things inside of these. The way it looks right now is they're building a lot of traditional real estate, but I think they're really building the beginnings of games and game foundations. And the issue is they don't have any data. And so they don't understand, how successful their project was, what the type of return on investment is, or anything like that, because they're just making things, shipping them, and then they just go out into have a point where people can start to understand where they're at and how they can make it better, how they can make more engaging games. And that's what we've been talking to people about recently. And so I think after this wave of real estate, if you will, is what it looks like right now. I don't know if you saw on New Year's Eve, for example, there was the One Times Square project with the ball drop into Decentraland. Once we get past that, I think we're going to be looking at more games.
And so we're talk about kind of where WeMeta is deploying its technology today.
Yeah, so right now we're building out a marketplace, or a marketplace aggregator, I should say. So land that's for sale anywhere, you'll be able to buy, sell, and bid on it on WeMeta. As well as we're building out tools that provide the best data.
So it's kind of like an OpenSea for
yeah, like an OpenSea with a focus.
Land.
Yeah, when you go on OpenSea, you don't see any pictures of the land. You don't see any stats like distance from road. You don't see which district it's in. You don't see a lot of contextualization of the land itself. What is your land and what can you do with it? OpenSea tells you none of this. And so we're partnering, with builders like Metamundo and other people to build out these education incentives that help people understand what they can do with their land and why they would want to do that. And then hopefully they build it. I think somebody needs to build it. If nobody starts building, I think the metaverse, it's not going to take.
Hey, Winston, we're having trouble hearing you now. Maybe if you shut off your video.
Said really the pandemic accelerated a lot of this, and I think right now I lost me. Great.
Oh, there you go. That's right. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah. And so I think right now we're ahead of the technology. Unfortunately, we have this great platform and we have these great tools, but people forgot to build, and the pandemic accelerated it a bit too much, let's say. And so we have to catch up. And so I think right now we're in a position where we need to start building.
And what have you, to the degree you started to see some things, the early days of building, what are you seeing being built?
A lot of things that look like real life, which, is interesting and a bit boring at the same time, but it's really exciting to see it actually get done. And these are, very difficult projects that are large scale. For example, the New Year's Eve in the Metaverse that just happened. That was a pretty big event. Thousands of people showed up. I think it was very successful. But I don't think it's anywhere near where the metaverse is going to be a year from now. We're just seeing the beginnings of these things, like Samsung built out a new office in Decentraland. A lot of focus on Decentraland right now. I'd like to see some expansion to Somnium space or Crypto Voxels even. And then, whenever the Sandbox.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. As I was about to say, whenever the Sandbox game drops, I know there's some people building out some very exciting education incentives or initiatives in there. And so I'm really, really bullish on the Sandbox once the game actually drops.
And to the degree, have you started, were you in the actual, collection of the data to start understanding what's going on?
Yeah, so we have everything, as far as sales history, foot traffic, offer history for all the parcels across all the worlds right now. And so we're starting to analyze it and see kind of the meta trends and figuring out how do you compare, property in the sandbox to property in Decentraland. This is a pretty interesting problem. And then it really comes down to what's your goal and what do you want to build and why. But I think it's really what we're providing is really a platform to help communities make decisions and build, collectively.
Super interesting. Well, thanks for sticking around for the Q&A session. And next, we will hear from Mark with Metamundo. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Lou. Hey, Drew. Hey, Winston. Nice to see you all.
And where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from Amsterdam.
It's a truly international call.
Yeah. Hi all. Yes, so I'm one of the co-founders of Metamundo. We're building a 3D NFT marketplace, which actually allows architects and designers to actually provide 3D assets that are interoperable across the metaverse. Our goal is to get as many of these 3D creators and actually allow them to provide these assets which can be used in Decentraland, in Somnium Space, Crypto Voxels, the Sandbox. We want to cover all of the open metaverses. And I think just touching on all of your great points, really believe, the metaverse is community. But I just came after spending Christmas time with my nephew and niece, and wow, do you know what they got for Christmas? They got Roblox books and then Fortnite money. And it's amazing to see the younger generation. They have absolutely embraced these metaverses. And let's also be clear on the definitions of between the open and the closed metaverses. Roblox and Fortnite are the closed metaverses. But the users and the stickiness of these products is just phenomenal. And we're all here because we believe in the open metaverse, using blockchain to, provide more ownership of, the future of the web. And we're all bullish on the open metaverses, but it's just amazing to see how my niece and nephew, they were catching up with friends, they were spending time in Fortnite, they were building things in Roblox. We need to get some of those 350 million users on Fortnite and 200 million users on Roblox over to the open metaverse. And the open metaverse for me is, yes, spending time with your community, playing games in some of these examples that Winston's also just mentioned. So our goal at Metamundo, yes, we've sold a lot of land. The land is there, but now we need to build it. And we're bringing on board, we have a large network of 3D creators, and we're speaking to them on a daily basis to see, what do we want to see in the open metaverse? What kinds of experiences, games, assets are going to really make it a place where people come and want to spend time with their community?
And what are you seeing today in the metaverse that people are actually doing?
Yeah, so as Winston mentioned, for example, the New Year's Eve party that was in Decentraland, that was very cool. I think obviously the Snoop Dogg party in the Sandbox, also very cool. So there's some very nice events happening. I actually quite enjoy the Decentraland Casino. Decentral Games is doing a great job with the casino and the dynamics there with the games. We're spending a lot of time speaking to designers that want to do obviously NFT galleries, but then also stores and shops. And I see a big future for e-commerce in the metaverse too.
What e-commerce for, I would assume, digital assets?
Both. We're seeing obviously some movement now with metaverse stores where you can go in and you can purchase the digital asset in the metaverse, but then you actually order the physical asset too, and that arrives at your home. And I think that could be really powerful because you're seeing just in e-commerce in general, a lot of 3D technology coming into Shopify, for example. The idea that you can go shopping in a virtual shopping street without leaving your home, and you can walk around an item of clothing or walk around a piece of art or a car, and you would get the virtual version, but then you can also get the physical version as well.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. So I'll start the Q&A session, and then we'll open it up again to to the audience. So we've already got the first few questions. Again, if you have a question, put it into the Q&A section on Zoom. And I'll ask you. We'll start with you, Drew. What do you think Facebook is up to? Do you see them as friend or foe?
Friend or foe? I'd say a little bit of both. I think that I'm a believer that anyone who's going to drive more attention to the metaverse and to this concept is a good thing. And there's no one who's going to do that better than Facebook. But I also am a huge believer in the open metaverse. It's one of the reasons why I'm a big investor in Wilder World, is that they're driving that message home of an open metaverse. And there's an alliance and a group around that. So I believe that there's going to be interoperability across metaverses eventually. I think that there should be interoperability across metaverses. I think there are going to be metaverses for different purposes and different theses. Like, as I said earlier, I'm an investor in different metaverses. I'm an investor in Green Park Sports because I think a metaverse that's focused on the sports niche is a really valuable idea. I'm an investor in Superworld because I think the AR layer on Google Earth is going to be a great bridge between physical events and digital experiences. I think that Wilder World is the perfect example of a beautiful Unreal Engine VR first metaverse. And I think Sandbox is a fantastic gaming concept, a gaming infrastructure for metaverse. So I think that all of these different types of metaverses, and Upland is another one that's done a great job of creating lots of partnerships and brands and incorporating brands into their roadmap. So I'm an investor in all 5 of those companies for different reasons. And I believe that anyone who's going to be driving metaverse adoption further is playing a big role in our ecosystem. But yeah, that being said, I'm still worried about Facebook being a closed off metaverse. And that's where I think the opposition side of it is.
Makes sense. Winston, want to add to that?
Yeah, no, I'd certainly say, and something I forgot to mention when I was doing my intros, I think events are going to be a lot of what drives this initial push into the metaverse, especially the open metaverse. For example, like on that New Year's Eve thing, a lot of people showed up who, and I'm trying to be careful here because I'm not allowed to say the stats, but a lot of people showed up who didn't have crypto wallets, or it was their first time visiting Decentraland. And so with these events, throwing parties, throwing things that people recognize in real life, I probably sounded pretty negative on it earlier, but it's actually necessary for the start. And I think that's what Facebook is really going to specialize in, is throwing those events. I mean, what do people use Facebook for now, right? Organizing events, staying in touch with friends. And so pulling those people into the open metaverse, I think is really, events are the way. And that'll be the first wave.
Makes sense. Mark, any thoughts to add on Facebook?
Is Facebook friend or foe? I think, and obviously we should be calling it Meta now, right? So we definitely benefited from that. Yeah. Yeah, whether we want to call it Meta or Facebook, it's very beneficial that they're bringing a lot of awareness to the metaverse. I think, what's so exciting about this space is it feels like joining the internet in the 90s, right? I remember when eBay first started. That was so exciting. It feels like that time again. And we're on the brink of, experiencing let's say digital media. We're going from 2D to 3D. And Facebook is really moving forward and powering this 3D experience. And whether they will be the leading metaverse, I don't know. But of course, they're not sleeping at night because they're seeing Roblox have all of the younger generation using Roblox and not using Facebook. So I think that's kind of the elephant in the room as well, that some days during lockdown, there were more users on Roblox than there were on Facebook itself.
Wow.
So we just need to be aware. We need to be aware of some of these platforms as well. And they're doing very well. Still, Minecraft is very popular. Anywhere where you can build a community, I think, is taking away the attention from Facebook, and they're pushing the boundaries. And I'm very interested to see. They have mentioned, Mark Zuckerberg, in some of the chats, he has mentioned that they do want to focus on interoperability. So that's obviously, what we're interested in. We believe that the future of the metaverse should be interoperable, that you can move these assets from one metaverse to another. So we're watching this space. Let's see what they do.
Okay, terrific. Thanks for that. And now we'll start going to questions from the audience. And our first question is from Mark Smith. So Mark, if you want to open up your camera and there you go.
Yeah, thanks, Lou. I'm really excited to hear this panel, and I had a couple of questions. I'm so glad to hear about your service, Winston. I was looking at a sandbox land, and I really couldn't understand like what the black blocks were, and I mean, I couldn't value it. It was really hard to understand, and I ended up not buying it, of course, much to my chagrin.
What's your question?
And so my question is, like, how are you helping, of people like me, value, what are the key metrics that you're looking at? And then around the DAOs for Drew, how do you sort of balance pay to play and sort of whales controlling DAOs versus participation and involving the larger community, given how important the community is?
Okay, thanks, Mark. So Winston, why don't you take the first question?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to. And so I'd say I preface this with I come from a background in traditional residential real estate where you have, something like you're looking at the nearest neighbors to value a property. That's how we're doing it right now. So you look at the sales history, you go, these are the most similar properties, therefore sales history, yada, yada, easy. What we're getting into past that though, and I think this is really going to be the exciting part, is foot traffic and revenue models. So what does a discounted cash flow look like on your Decentraland estate? Is there a reason to have a 13 by 13 estate over, just 170 parcels? How do you value the difference between, a cluster that you can actually deploy across versus a random assortment? And can you come up with a method where maybe, a whole bunch of people, this could be a DAO, combine their land and they all own them individually, but you can use them to throw events and generate revenue. And so I think ultimately we're going to go from this more residential style of appraisals to a more commercial style of appraisals, because that's what people are using the land for. And so, yeah, right now, simple, easy sales history. But as we go forward, foot traffic, what are people doing on your land? How much time are they spending? What are the experiences you can offer? And what are the events you can throw? I think those are going to become much, much, much more important.
Okay, cool. To answer the question, Mark?
Yeah, that's terrific. I love the idea of thinking about it, more in a 3D way, in terms of how you can aggregate assets to make them more valuable.
And then Drew, you had the second question.
So I know there was the DAO component. Was just to specify the question again really quickly for me?
We're looking at DAOs. For example, I'm active in a number of metaverses and thinking about, just sort of, is it really pay to play? Is it just, whales that are controlling DAOs, or how do you have smaller players, who maybe can contribute more, but don't necessarily have the economic stake that, so how do you balance those pieces?
You just laid it out exactly. There is a huge, right now, the beginning of DAOs was everyone throwing money at the money to participate because everyone wants to be involved and everyone wants to learn. What we all realized very quickly is that a lot of these people that throw money at things don't actually want to do the work or contribute. So then there's a huge gap in terms of work, effort, and contribution versus investment. So the nice thing about this is, and this is where I think there will be this beautiful level of parity, is that people that have the ability to contribute at a DAO level are going to be able to earn at the level that other people are putting money in the game. So there's going to be skin in the game for both people, the people that put sweat and the people that put capital. And there's reason, and there's roles and opportunity for both. There's need for both. So I think the beauty of this, and this is why I spend so much time thinking about how do you create opportunity for work when it comes to DAOs, when it comes to Metaverse, because at the end of the day, this is going to be a game of contribution. And you're going to be incentivized and rewarded to contribute. And that is this whole Web3 world that we're moving into. It's all about people saying, hey, I'm contributing, whether it's I'm renting my house on Airbnb, or I'm participating in your social network, or I'm buying your computers and your phones. People are contributing to the value of your business. They're contributing to the network of your business, and they want to be rewarded accordingly. Now, some people are contributing through investment. Some people are contributing by being a consumer. Some people are contributing by working and building the projects. All of those need to be rewarded and compensated accordingly. And there's different levels of compensation for those different types of contributions. And so, like right now, we're all thinking about decentralized. We're all thinking, and we're all thinking a little bit about organization. We're trying to figure that out, but no one's figuring out the autonomous part yet. And when we start to figure it out, and when we start to realize that DAOs are not just about voting on everything, but it's about building the right governance and infrastructure and putting that in place to be able to put people in a position to be able to contribute and to be able to be rewarded for that contribution, and have a governance layer that verifies those contributions and values those contributions. To me, that's what a DAO really is, and I think that's what we're going to see a lot of in the next 2 years.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Really cool. Thank you.
Okay, we got the next question comes from Adam Miller. Adam, I think he had another DAO-related question.
Hi, everyone. Adam Miller from DAOplatform.io, calling in from a cafe in California. Could you speak a little bit more to the role for DAOs in the metaverse, and maybe touch on what you've seen already today and what's most needed going forward?
Yeah, just tapped on that a little bit just now, but I'll kind of just really quickly. There's going to be the role for DAOs is a few things. One, to get a bunch of people with shared interests and minds to work together on an opportunity without having to be full-time employees. That's like a very new, fascinating concept. I have never been able to work like this with my friends before. It's been fascinating and fun and exciting, and then also painful, with full of friction and a bunch of bullshit debates that don't go anywhere half the time. So, like, the reality is, like, we're all figuring this out still. But what DAOs are going to create are the environment for contribution, and contribution is what we need to build this world. And ownership is the other component to this, and ownership is what we're all looking for. Everyone wants a vested interest in wants to have vested interest in the brands that they contribute to, in whatever capacity they contribute to, and they want to be compensated and rewarded for that contribution. And that's the role DAOs play, in my opinion.
So, Mark, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think, the one obvious DAO for Metaverse game, which is currently up and running and been up and running for a while, is the Decentraland DAO. And you can, the great thing about that is that it's so transparent. You can go and you can see the proposals. You can actually see where the community wants to take that business and what they're voting for. And I think that's the true beauty of the DAO as well. Obviously, the community owns part of it and it's deciding on where that business is going. But the democratic nature of deciding on what that business will do is for me, that's the future. But they are evolving really fast, and we're seeing a lot of new different formats for DAOs and different ways of dealing with the voting structure. But I do think that it's a good example to look at, the Decentraland DAO.
Winston?
Yeah, and this is I guess a newer perspective, and it's a very focused perspective. But I think there's going to be a lot of DAOs that operate more as like investment clubs. Maybe even you could say they resemble traditional REITs in the real life. So these are people who I think are going to go buy up a whole bunch of land and then build on it and try to provide some sort of return for their members. And like Drew said, this is going to be really interesting to see who's the investor versus who's actually trying to build something. But I think, we can provide a real platform for people to come in and buy with, say, like a multi-sig wallet. That's something that, is not easy right now. And if you're getting to the autonomous part of the DAO, you really need the multi-sig wallet and you need it to work well. And so providing a platform where they can, see their entire portfolio, manage it, understand what's going on, and, get a comprehensive valuation of their holdings, if you will. And I think that'll be an interesting role for DAOs to play in the metaverse.
Okay, cool. Adam, is there
Perfect. Thank you so much. That's great.
Terrific. Thanks. You went in terms of the DAOs. You guys, talked a little bit about governance. Where do you think we are in terms of it, and how do you think about the governance of DAOs, Drew?
How do I feel about the governance of DAOs?
Well, I mean, how do you think? Where are we? How close are we to?
We're trying to figure it out right now. I think that, again, I think that a lot of this is going to be trial and error, and a lot of this is it's going to take a lot of iteration. I think that I think everyone's first thought when it came to, oh, great, a DAO means that we all vote on everything and there's no leader. And that's just not the way it is. And that's not going to move. Then nothing's going to happen. Nothing will be produced. So leadership teams are really important. But the ability for the community, or the community, I guess you can call it, to be able to vote, empower the leadership team is one component. Like making sure that there's checks and balances. I think that's important. Also making sure that there's very clear, just like there are roles and responsibilities within an organization, I think creating roles and responsibilities that are split between the leadership team and the community is also very important. It needs to be clear what each group is accountable for. I don't expect the community or the consumer of an Apple computer to go in here and make responsible decisions about our logistics decisions. You know what I mean? That's not the way it should work. But like, should they have a vote on, maybe a creative ad, or a community run event, or a content strategy that helps educate the audience? Like, those are the types of things that, like, things that the community both can have a role in, have a say in, that directly impacts them, and that they may have an expertise over. I think it's important to get their weight in, but also then there's an element of, hey, if you're going to participate in this given DAO and this governance protocol, then you're also putting some trust in the leadership team to be able to execute. But like, I think that everything will have this kind of, like, listen, even with Knights of Degen, we have like almost multiple different types of DAO structures within our own DAO. Like we have, which we're building, we're heading towards we're ultimately heading towards
on the path to decentralization.
That's exactly right. We're on the path to decentralization, which a lot of us are. But within our organization, we vote internally on the team on proposals, and then we take also proposals to the community council. They vote on proposals, and then we take proposals to the community at large, and they vote on proposals. So we have a variety of different things that are going on, and each one of those groups, the leadership team, the community council, and the community at large, are accountable and responsible for different types of levels of participation. And that's what we kind of expect.
Yeah. I know. Winston, Mark, any thoughts on kind of governance? One of the things that, and somebody said something earlier alluding to this, but, I feel, the very first TV shows were guys sitting at a desk with a microphone going, hey, now we're on television, right? They were just doing radio on television because that's all they knew. And to some degree, I think actually Winston, was saying this, that, so far that's all we're doing. We're taking what exists into the, outside of the metaverse into the metaverse, even though you can do infinitely more things in the metaverse. And just like governance, the whole idea of voting to drive governance, I think is, has largely been proven to be non-functional in the real world, let alone the metaverse, and that there can be lots of other ways to drive governance other than voting. So, I don't know what if you guys have any thoughts on, governance and DAOs and, where we are there.
I have a little bit, but I'd love to hear what Mark has to say. I think we're just really early. I think we're really, really early in DAOs. Maybe, we're on like the second generation, maybe, and we're probably going to see like the 10th generation within the next 5 years. So it'll be interesting, like I saw a tweet maybe a month ago. Are there any DAOs, super voting power for like the founders or something like that, where maybe they hold a smaller percentage of the tokens, but their tokens have extra voting. I think also too, it'll be interesting to see NFT DAOs instead of like ERC 20 DAOs. But really, again, I think we're incredibly early with DAOs.
Well, Mark.
Again, and with Winston saying that we're very early, there are DAOs that are successful and there are DAOs that are not successful. There's something also to be aware of is how do you keep up the engagement in your DAO? Because you I know a few DAOs that obviously at the start there's a huge amount of engagement, a lot of voting, and then actually kind of that trickles down, and you get some dominant players in a DAO. So there's a lot of stuff going on. We know that, for example, the guys from Prime DAO that are working on even how you can keep that engagement up, and obviously financial reward is important. But I think that we are still super early, and we're seeing, obviously, in terms of the metaverse DAOs, that we're seeing the best one at the moment is Decentraland to look at and take example from and learn from.
Yeah, and I would echo Mark on that. Without a doubt, the best metaverse DAO right now is Decentraland. There's just it's not even close.
I would say that the best thing I've seen from the DAO world has been a lot of the stuff I've seen with Wilder World. I think their entire organization is DAO to DAO to DAO. Literally, there are DAOs for every project, for every product, for every company. Like, it's been wildly impressive. They've been at this for 5 years too. So they also built their whole infrastructure decentralized as well, like their own communication software, everything. So they've been really leaning heavily into this decentralized world, and it's been impressive to watch.
Drew, we need to catch up.
Sure, Winston.
Is that public now, Drew? The Wild World DAO? Or is that all private internal?
Yeah, I mean, they have a token, Wilder token. They also have now the Zero infrastructure token, which is their DAO infrastructure they built. So that token just got released a couple of weeks ago. But if you actually talk to the company, within the company, there's different DAOs that work on different projects so that people can come in and out of contributing on a different product. So like, let's say there's people that are working on the Wilder Wheels. There's like a decentralized organization for Wilder Wheels development. And then there's a decentralized organization for Wilder Pets. And like, so they're doing all different, they're really leaning into this, which has been really impressive to watch.
Do you think they might be overdoing it? Or
I mean, as of right now, I think that, like, if it seems to be working for them. And I think there's an element where I think my guess is that we're going to all need multiple DAOs, and a DAO is just going to be looked at as a team. Like, it's just another way of saying a contributing team, but then you can build your own unique incentive models within that team. So that's what I'm guessing. Again, I don't know the full level of depth of how they're operating at that level. I need to go into more detail there to understand it better. But I do see a need for it, because I could already see in Knights of Degen 3 different types of communities coming, 3 different types of organizations that have been forming that probably need their own governance and own incentive models, which is, like, for us, our internal team, the council between the community and the team, and then the community at large. So I already see that kind of forming in interesting ways. And then some, there's also even opportunities to think about, like, we have investment, like NFT assets that we invest in as art and collectibles, et cetera. That might need to have a different DAO governing kind of model than just general operations and logistics of what to do on a day-to-day basis. So, I definitely can see some really interesting components.
So we've got a number of questions from people who don't want to come on stage and ask. And one of the interesting ones that I'm sure everybody hears from time to time is, what do you say to people who don't want to see the Ready Player One metaverse, but instead want to see a metaverse that enhances the physical world? So Mark, you want to start?
I mean, that Ready Player One is kind of it's a monopoly, right? It's owned by one guy, and I think we touched on one platform that's doing that already, in terms of running their own metaverse and has kind of one controller. There is a lot depends on kind of the token structure and the tokenomics, I think, for a metaverse. Yeah, I also know, for example, the tokenomics at Wilder World is really good. I can comment on that they made it very fair. And even, for example, maybe not a metaverse, but a platform like Super Rare that rewards their community with, their tokens, and then make sure that it's equally distributed depending on your contribution. This is how we can avoid the Ready Player One situation, where it's kind of one person, governing the metaverse. We are here because I think we believe in Web3, and the people that contribute get a piece of the future of the web and the future of what we're building. And I think that's the movement, right? That's why we're here, because this is a real. We've seen it's a reaction to Web 2, which is obviously the big data collectors that we all know of, and now we can actually take control back and spread that amongst the community.
I like that. Good answer. Winston, Drew, want to add anything to the Ready Player One question?
I have a short answer, and that's that you got to get involved and start building. I don't know if you're going to build the right thing, but if you do, then hey, you're in control. I think there's going to be a lot of iterations of the build, and I think we're getting into the very early stages of what building in the metaverse looks like. But it's somebody has to build. Either we're going to do it, or
Facebook.
Unmentioned Facebook company is going to do it, right? Somebody's going to do it, and so I'd say if people are trying to avoid that, the best answer is to start building and get to work.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I mean, listen, this is, if there's ever been a green field, this is it. I mean, this is like I forgot, it may have been Mark who said this earlier. I'm not sure, where like a lot of the stuff we're seeing to date is just kind of replicas of the real world. One of you said that, I don't remember. And like, yeah, that's like what we know, and we're starting there. But like the opportunities are freaking endless. You know what I mean? Like, just like little concepts, like gravity doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, I don't even know what that means, but like, I just can't, like, that thought just popped into my head. Like, I'm wondering, like, what does it mean to be intoxicated in the metaverse? Like, truly, how do you, what is losing, like, is like losing social anxieties, like that people go to bars for and drink alcohol for, to try to be able to socialize more comfortably in the meta. Like, what is that replica in the metaverse? Is it just a skin? Maybe that's the solution, but maybe there's something more to it. I don't know. Like, there is so much to be discovered here that we have to go figure out, and it takes people contributing. It takes a psychologist. It takes a therapist. It takes a construction worker. Everyone has different ways that they can contribute in this world, and that's what's so cool about it, is that like they're really like, it's not just for the whales. The whales are going to pave the way and going to provide capital. And don't get me wrong, you could hate on VCs all you want, but at the end of the day, like, they're needed. There's a role, and like, I've been a builder my entire life. We need fucking funding, like, to build stuff and build great teams and be able to incentivize people, or they go back to the Web 2 jobs or Web 1 jobs. So I'm all for having capital flood this market. Listen, I was in the VR space 7 years ago. I guarantee you, we wouldn't have been complaining about VRs and capital flooding into the VR space 7 years ago. We would have been in heaven if the dollars that's coming into Web3 today were coming into VR 7 years ago. It just wasn't. So, it's always, obviously, the grass is always greener. Everyone's always going to find something to complain about. But at the end of the day, there is a role for contribution for every single person. I really believe that, in different types of capacities.
And I'd say, even to add like a little, I guess, sugar on top, if you can find ways to bring in people who are Web 2. So one thing that our company has done indirectly is basically everybody we've hired, we've stolen from a Web 2 company. All the events we're trying to throw, we're focusing on how many people did we bring in to Web 3? How many people are new? And so build things that bring in new people. Don't try to cater to the audience that's here. Try to cater to the audience of the world, and then just integrate Web 3.
Good point. Okay, we got the next question is from Jeremy.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, guys, for doing this today. Just a really quick question for somebody who's like a newbie or trying to get into it. Like, what is the best way today to walk around in the metaverse, if you will? Is it just go to Decentraland? And also, do you need any special hardware to do any of this?
Right.
That kind of depends on the game you're playing. So if you're going to play Somnium Space, like I bought some parcels in Somnium Space, had to go buy Oculus, had to go buy a gaming PC. And so it's a more tailored market. I'd say, hopping into Decentraland is a great idea. Hopping into Crypto Voxels is a great idea. Any of the games really, but there's no one-stop destination right now. And I don't think that's the way it'll end up being. I hope it's not. It'd be great to have interoperability. And I think that's really the drive there. But I'm not much use on this question, so I'll shut up now.
Mark?
Yeah, like Winston said, so Sonrium Space is it's a beautiful looking metaverse, very heavy in terms of like 3D requirements. Um, then, of course, CryptoVoxels is a web-based metaverse, super easy to jump in. You can even browse and walk around CryptoVoxels on your phone, which is really, I think, really impressive. Decentraland as well, you can, yeah, that works on a standard PC, works on a normal laptop, for example. So those are the main ones that you can just jump into right now. And then, of course, there's other more games appearing. I think Drew also mentioned, for example, Super World app, Upland. These are actually games you can actually join now and then buy land and take certain actions. But there's obviously many more appearing, and I'm also very excited about Wild World launching their full world, which graphically looks really impressive. I'm very curious how that's going to perform on my laptop, but let's see.
Okay. And Drew, any words of wisdom for a newbie?
Newbie that's trying to get into the metaverse in general?
Yeah. Yes.
I would say follow great, like first build a good follower list on Twitter. Twitter is the identity and like kind of social information network for this whole space. I don't even know how to explain it, but like right now, if you want to get in, if you want to understand this world, make sure you're following the right people on Twitter. That's one. Two,
I make a couple suggestions.
At Drew Austin. No, there's the best way to do it, honestly, is find a few good people. You'll find them pretty easily. You'll find them right here. And then look who they're following. And that's another great way to, and like, look who's, that's another great way to do it, because we're all following people that we want to learn from. So that's the best way to build a good follower group, is to just follow the people that those smart people are following. And then the other side of it is get your hands dirty. Participate, buy a piece of land, trade a piece of land, join the discords. Don't click any links there, but join the discords and get your hands dirty, learn, understand what it takes to procure land, understand what it takes, try to build something or hire someone to build something. So you can start to understand what the scope of building on land looks like. Join a DAO, participate in a DAO. Like to me, there is a million checkpoints just to be able to just get involved. That is the number one thing I could suggest.
Fair advice. Literally just get involved, I think is figuring out what speaks to you. Just go out, read stuff. I tell people to follow the top 50 writers on, go to Medium and search for Metaverse and see the top 50 bloggers. And every day you'll get an email just on the Metaverse and you'll find people who speak to you.
Yeah, and I gotta say, there's something like, I came from the HR tech space, and there was an element of like, I was in the recruiting world, building recruiting technology, all that kind of stuff. And what's been really fascinating to me is, like, I'll give you an example. We had someone in our Discord who kind of stepped up, volunteered, started becoming a Discord mod, then all of a sudden we brought him on to be a social media manager. And like, this is a person, like, listen, I'm from New York. People I work with usually are New York or San Francisco or something to that nature. I think he lives in southern Mississippi or something. He tells me it's the middle of nowhere. This is honestly someone who would have never, ever gotten a job. Like, he didn't have this experience, but he just came in and freaking contributed. And that's the beauty of this. He's like, dude, my whole life has changed because of this. Like, this is where he finds, he said something to me that was almost emotional. He's like, this is the first time I've ever felt special. And but that's such a powerful thing to feel like he's empowered. And he didn't have to go through some biased recruiting process. He just had to go out and prove himself. He just went out and contributed. And that is just to me, that's the future. That's why I was working on AI recruiting, because I wanted to remove humans from the recruiting process. I think they're the problem with team building. So, to me, I just thought it was a really special thing to see people that step up, that would never pass your normal application process that you've built and the biases you've developed, but can come in there, contribute, and really prove themselves and be major contributors in the team. I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, I think those are all great points. So we're coming up to the top of the hour here. Last question I will take for all three of you, and that's, we're here in 2022 talking about the metaverse. Early days was obviously a common theme. If we're here a year from today, what do you think we're going to be talking about a year from today that we're not talking about today? And Winston, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to be talking about the one game that blew up. And I don't necessarily mean, Decentraland or Wild World or whatever, but like the one build inside of those things that took off. I don't know what it'll be, on no clue, but this is probably stealing some ideas from Mark, but it's got to be sticky. And so I think somebody in the next year is going to build something sticky. And so I'm hoping that that's what we're talking about. And I'm hoping, it has something like at least a couple million active monthly. So, but I think, what all it takes for something to pop off in the space is just one thing. For example, like Fall Guys. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the COVID games, if you will, but Fall Guys was a popular game that popped up over the pandemic that allowed people to socialize. There's no reason Fall Guys couldn't be inside of Somnium space. And then all of a sudden Fall Guys is in Somnium space, or a game of that caliber is inside of Decentraland or Wilder World or whatever. And then it's the onboarding to Web3 is going to be massive. And so I think we're going to be talking hopefully about how many millions of people we onboarded to Web3. I might be a bit bullish.
From your mouth.
Yeah, I might be a bit bullish, but that's why I'm here. So
exactly. Mark, what are we going to be talking about here?
Where are we in 1 year's time? I mean, from the Metamundo perspective, you will be able to buy your metaverse car. You will be able to buy your metaverse house. You will be able to take this and meet up with friends in any of the number of metaverses that are appearing and do different activities, experience and spend time with friends. I hope we do this call 1 year from now, actually in a metaverse, in 3D. I would like using one of a 3D avatar, where we all own a little piece of it. And I think Bill Gates said recently that he forecasts that many even business meetings will be in virtual reality, 3D, in the next few years. And I believe that. I also think that we will be moving towards 3D, and the hardware is catching up. So I see in 1 year's time, maybe not a massive shift, but we're definitely seeing a big growth now in us experiencing the web in 3D and in metaverses, in social and within communities.
Terrific. Thanks, Mark. And Drew, you got the last word.
Listen, as we were all saying all along, I'm really excited about what's up to come. I think you guys should all try to figure out a way. Oh my God, damn, sorry, my whole thing just blew up with calendar invites.
Popular guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of great projects going on, a lot of great companies. I'm going to shill some of the stuff that I'm working on so that you can get involved in. Keep your eyes out for what we're doing with Meta Collective.
Meta Collective.
Yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff coming with that. Check out the Redbeard Ventures Syndicate. I'll post the link in the chat here, but anyone, if you're an accredited investor, you can join, start investing in the companies, the tokens, the tech, the equity, and start to participate from that perspective. Go grab some Knights, because I believe Knights of Degen is the most undervalued NFT project in the game. And listen, get some real estate, and then, keep following these guys, because these are the guys that are on the ground level. They're going to know the space better than anybody else.
Terrific. Well, that was great, Drew. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Winston. Thanks for everybody who joined for the call today. See everybody soon.
Bye. This is awesome.
Thanks all.